Welcome in, everybody, to the CFB Nation All-America podcast, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. I'm Bill Trocchi, senior editor at sportingnews.com, alongside Bill Bender, our national college football writer at sportingnews.com, and for a few more months, president of the Football Writers Association
like
of America.
10 days. I mean,
10 days.
My term is almost over. Shahan will take over for me here very shortly.
Do you get a presidential library or what? Anything like that?
No. I talked to Steve Richardson yesterday. There's some finishing touches with the Eddie Robinson banquet and a few other things, but I'm almost done with the presidency. Then I will be a past president like everybody else and join that fraternity, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so I'm just trying to close it out.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about the Eddie Robinson. We saw it last year. You were in the on-deck circle with Andrea Adelson when she was presenting the award to Kurt Signetti. It won't be Signetti this year. It'll be Vanderbilt's Clark Lee, I guess, that you will get to introduce. But we'll talk more about that as we get closer to the national championship game. We're coming to you live this morning on our CFB Nation YouTube channel. Again, of course, if you want to subscribe, just go over to youtube.com, search CFB Nation, and click subscribe. Saturday, Bill, was the first Saturday since August 16th. There was no college football. Did you enjoy that Saturday, or did you miss it? I missed it.
There was an FCS game. What did I even do on Saturday?
No, I watched the Vanderbilt Commodore basketball team stay undefeated. That's what I did.
I watched the NFL games. That was one of the rare, like Kimberly and I were talking about it tonight, for example, is the first night since we can even remember where it was during the school year and Grant doesn't have a practice or a lifting or something, and Bella doesn't have a practice or a dance recital or something. And neither one of us have anything as of now. So I think we're all going to be in the same place at the same time, which will be
like a big game of Bender Monopoly tonight over at the kitchen table.
Yeah, we will definitely probably have some sort of family game night tonight, which we do. And when you're at the age that I'm at and the kids are at the age they're at, and I'm sure some parents out there can understand, like there's not many nights like this. So I think we're going to enjoy it. But that means that a coach will probably resign or something. So let's hope that doesn't happen this afternoon.
Some transfer portal news.
Yeah, let's not do that.
That's an open spigot right now. So we will talk about the transfer portal, specifically the quarterbacks. The quarterback carousel will catch people up on who is where if you're not like monitoring Twitter day to day. We want to touch on what's next for the Blue Bloods who went home, Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. Just get a quick thought about where those three programs stand after losing in the quarterfinals. We'll touch on Lane Kiffin. Does he regret his decision? And then a quick thing on Kirk Signetti at the end of the show. But first, Trocchi Trivia. I will give you this, and this is I don't know how you're going to do. I'm optimistic you'll get it, but let's see. Can you give me the 4 CFP semifinal quarterbacks in order of passing yards per game? Give me the order of the CFP semifinal quarterbacks in order of passing yards per game. We will revisit that trivia question at the end of the show. Is that a hard one? Is that yeah?
Kind of.
A little bit of guesswork. Yeah.
It will be.
We'll see. It's not right off the top of the head. You gotta kind of think through how they all did for the whole season, and we'll see how you do on that one. So let's get into the transfer portal. Let's go start with the quarterbacks, of course, where the QBs are landing, who's left, et cetera, et cetera. I looked at our list on sportingnews.com, kind of went down, see who is committed. I'm just going to kind of go through the list, catch people up, and then get kind of your reaction as to what the fits are, if there were any surprises. I think, some of these guys followed their head coaches to their next spot, which wasn't a surprise. Usually that has portended success for other quarterbacks in the past, so we'll see if that happens here. But we've got Josh Hoover, who was at TCU. He committed to Indiana in the small window Indiana had from the Rose Bowl to preparing for the Peach Bowl. So Josh Hoover, Kirk Cignetti has got his quarterback for next year. Brandon Sorsby, who became the number one quarterback target in the transfer portal after a great year at Cincinnati. He's going to go down to Texas Tech. Texas Tech bought a billboard in Times Square to announce this. Not sure the value of that, but they did. Drew Mestemaker, the nation's leader in passing yards per game at North Texas. He followed his coach to Oklahoma State, Eric Morris. Rocco Becht also followed his coach. He went from Iowa State to Penn State. Kenny Minchie from Notre Dame, backup for C.J. Carr, committed to Nebraska and then flipped to Kentucky, which was a transfer portal flip, Bill. We used to have just high school recruiting flips. Now we got transfer portal flips days later. So probably some ugly tampering going on there. Austin Simmons, the backup to Trinity Chambliss, went from Ole Miss to Missouri this morning. And Byron Brown, as expected, followed Alex Golish from South Florida to Auburn. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I gave you a lot of names there, a lot of destinations. What grabs you out of those 8? I guess I'll start us off with Sorsby, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
I mean, the price tag, obviously, people get caught up on this. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are worth this kind of money, but I'm not the one spending the money. So, I mean, this is up to these programs to do that. I think Brendan Sorsby is a solid quarterback. He had a really good year at Cincinnati. He's 2-time transfer, and he should do well at Texas Tech. He adds a mobile element to that offense. So he definitely stands out. And then, Josh Hoover, a lot of people like his NFL kind of prospects. And now you get to see it in Indiana's offense, which obviously has been really good. I mean, he had 17 touchdowns on passes of 20 yards or more the last couple seasons, but he also had 8 interceptions. The one thing that Indiana quarterbacks do well last 2 years, Rourke and Mendoza, they've thrown the ball down well with great success to those receivers. So, and Indiana has awesome receivers with Becker, Surratt, and Cooper. So, yeah, I think that those are the two that stood out right away. And the other ones aren't really surprising.
Real quick with Indiana, they've brought in a guy for a 1-year deal, and it's worked out 2 for 2 under Cignetti.
Right. Now, eventually you're going to miss. We'll see. I mean, they hit some other guys in the portal though, like Nick Marsh and some others. That Nick Marsh is an outstanding receiver from Michigan State. So there you go. You get to throw to him. The rest of them aren't all that surprising. Like Rocco Becht to Penn State doesn't surprise me. Byron Brown to Auburn, I mean, obviously, and Drew Mestemaker to Oklahoma State. Those aren't surprising moves. But, I think what I'm watching now, Bill, is where does Sam Leavitt land? There was linked to Kentucky, but may end up at LSU. And I like his talent. And I'm still waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting on Dylan Raiola. Like, I still think he's the talent, and what's behind. Why hasn't he landed somewhere? Why isn't he as coveted? And
I got a theory.
Okay.
He's waiting for Dante Moore to declare for the draft, and he'll be headed to Oregon.
He would do very well there. I mean, he would be a very good fit at Oregon with what he does and the talent that he has and trying to get to the next level. So, again, there's not a lot of surprises here. I mean, that is a good call. And then we'll see where Lagway goes and go from there. One hidden one, Colton Joseph, the Old Dominion guy. He had crazy stats at Old Dominion this year, and he ends up with Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. We'll see if he's that kind of Desmond Ridder difference maker that Luke had at Cincinnati that gets that program going a little bit. So, of all the comings and goings, those guys, it's crazy. Like you said, I mean, we live in a world where Bryce Underwood has to announce that he's coming back. And it's like, that's the one I can do without, like I'm coming back. So you're announcing that you're doing what you should do. I mean, that's kind of where I land on
Trinity Chambliss said that he announced that he's got an agreement with Ole Miss. If he can get that waiver, he's not going with Lane Kiffin, which was sort of assumed if he got that 6th year, which I'm not sure why he's having so much trouble. I read a little bit about it. He missed his 2nd year at D2 with some sort of respiratory issues or something that kept him off the field the whole year. And they have doctor's reports and things like that. And the initial feeling from the NCAA was they needed more medical evidence that he was, that was the reason he wasn't playing or whatever. It was injury, I don't know. But so he's trying to get that injury waiver. Generally, NCAA has been pretty generous with these waivers in the past. So I would expect him to get that 6th year. If he balls out again, if he balls out two more times, does he go to the NFL? I mean, I don't know. So we'll see on that. But the link from him to LSU with Lane Kiffin, apparently that's not going to happen. A couple other guys I wanted to – go ahead.
Well, I mean, and the intriguing part here is and there's some others at the Sporting News office that feels the way the same I do, is I think he should go to the NFL. And this is, your stock is as high as it's ever going to be. But, you say that and then you're like, well, what's the Ole Miss deal going to be? How much can he cash in on NIL? I think Dante Moore's going through this on some level as well. So, this is the world we live in, where it might actually be enticing and you can make more money as a college football quarterback than you can as a rookie quarterback in the NFL. I have feelings on that. I don't necessarily think it's right, but it's the world we live in.
Right. So you touched on Sam Levitt. He was linked to Kentucky and visited LSU. I think maybe he has decided to quietly commit to LSU, and that's why Minchie flipped from Nebraska to Kentucky, because Levitt, he visited both. He visited Kentucky, visited LSU. I don't know what happened there. Gronkmeyer from Penn State has visited Virginia Tech. I don't think he's announced anything, but that would be a reunion with James Franklin. So that would not be a huge surprise there. And yeah, Raiola, it was Chris Hummer was where I got that Oregon prediction, and it made a lot of sense because I don't think he's even taken a visit yet, and obviously he's in high demand. DJ Lagway still out there. He visited Florida State yesterday. He's also been linked to Virginia and Baylor, I think. What do you think about his stuff? Because, he came out of high school so hyped, and then he has not delivered yet, but I still think he should be in demand.
Yeah, there's too many interceptions. But, better decision maker, and I thought he'd be an interesting fit at Miami too. With Carson Beck leaving, you go to Miami, and it's going to be real interesting if Lagway lands at Florida State or Miami, given the rivalry with those schools. But again, this is part of the world we live in. I just think for him, it's turnovers. He's got to limit the turnovers at his next stop. The talent's there. There's something to be written about these 5-star guys moving around. But I think he was 5-star, if not a high 4-star. But obviously it'll be interesting to see what he does at his next stop. And Florida State would be an interesting fit. I think we lined that one up right away when we did our transfer portal article. I actually think I put Miami, but either one of those schools would make sense for Lagway, in my opinion.
Yep. Bo Pribula has visited Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech. So Virginia Tech's probably deciding between the two ex-Penn State quarterbacks. That would be interesting. Georgia Tech is in need of a quarterback with Aaron Fillo going to Florida when it was assumed he would be the starter next year. So Georgia Tech is in the market for sure. Another team in the market that we haven't touched on, Florida. What are they going to do? I haven't seen anybody linked to Florida. Have you?
No. I thought Aaron Fillo was supposed to go there, remember? But
sorry. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Maybe he ends up there, and then
he did. Yeah. Okay. So
that hasn't happened for sure, right? But it's assumed to be going to happen.
Yeah. Florida they hired Georgia Tech's offensive coordinator, Buster Faulkner. And so that's the connection there. And they took Georgia Tech's starting center as well. So some of the guys are following Faulkner to Gainesville. So yeah, those are the 4 schools who are over: Oregon, Miami, LSU, Florida. You could see Raiola possibly to Oregon, Lagway possibly to Miami, Levitt to LSU, and Fillo to Florida. I guess that would make sense. Yep. Those 4. Those are our predictions. How about that? Those are our unofficial predictions for those schools. So anyway, All this may change in the next few days. It's been kind of fun, this free agency frenzy kind of thing. I was kind of dreading it, but it's kind of fun to just open Twitter because there seems to be news every hour on the transfer market. So, all right, let's get into the three Blue Bloods that lost in the quarterfinals over New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and we'll just kind of touch on each where they are. Georgia, start with them. Gunnar Stockton and Nate Frazier, they're going to be back, of course. The wide receiver room is pretty much done. They're going to have to kind of go into the transfer portal there. I think Zachariah Branch announced he's going to the NFL. And so they're going to have to replenish some of the receivers, both tackles. They got a very deep recruiting class coming in, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which is not a surprise with Kirby Smart. I don't know. I guess my general question for you or takeaway is, Georgia isn't the Death Star. It was for those couple of years, but they keep winning. And let's remember, they were just a whisker from the Final Four.
Right. They're fine. They're, of these three programs, I would say the second most concerned of the three. And I can justify that here in a second. But they did bring in a lot of transfers on their two deep for defense last year. I think that's their ticket. Make the defense dominant again. Make their defense, that's what Kirby knows. In 21 and 22, they were dominant on that side of the ball. They were good on defense this year, but not great. Offensively, I think they'll be fine. This is a team that's played a really tough schedule the last couple of years. They're 22-5. It's not like they're 23-5. I'm sorry, with 2 SEC championships. So it's not like they're desperate for, a rebuild or anything like that. I think Kirby's fine. I think the more, he probably looks back at that Ole Miss game, wishes he had that fourth down call back, that if they just punt the ball, they maybe win the game. They're in the semis. There's less. There'll always be pressure at that job with Kirby and the coordinators. He did retain both, I believe. So, the continuity will be there. There were still a few, but there were less like off the field arrest this year, I believe. So maybe, I'm not making a joke. Like, I literally think there were less. There were a few. So They haven't dealt with the player behavior issues as much. Maybe that's a good thing for the program. It gets them going in the right direction. And they're fine.
They probably enter as the favorite in the SEC next year, but we'll see. We got some time to think about that, although not too much time. You've got your way too early top 25 to get to the world next week.
They'll probably be in the top 5 to 10, in that. So, looking at their schedule next year too, as of now, they go to Ole Miss. It's pretty soft. They go to Alabama, they play Vanderbilt at home, Oklahoma at home, and their non-league is like Tennessee State, Western Kentucky, and
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, of course. So it's a tough schedule, but not as bad as usual.
Yeah. So, all right, Alabama also went down. They went down in historic fashion and in a bad way. Ty Simpson, he's got a decision to make. Will he go to the NFL or will he come back? I would lean towards him coming back. He broke his rib. Did you see that? He broke his rib in the Rose Bowl on that fumble. People are giving him a hard time when he fumbled, but that was, a hit right on the helmet, right to the back of the rib cage there. Fumbled the ball. That was a big play. But he needs to make a decision. The QB group for the NFL draft isn't overly strong, so maybe that pushes him a year early. I don't know. He's the son of a coach, though. Coaches understand development in college can lead to a longer NFL career and stuff like that. So I would think he would be back. They got to get offensive line. They have 2 guys that might be going to the NFL off a line that couldn't run block and didn't protect in the playoffs. So I think that's got to be their focus of the portal. They have another really good recruiting class coming in. But if they don't get the offensive line fixed, they're not going to take a step forward.
Yeah, there's the most concern of the three here. Being 20-8 the last 2 years, obviously couldn't run the football. No identity there, not looking even remotely like a playoff contender against Indiana, lending the argument that Notre Dame should have been in, which they should have been in, all of those things. And then it starts to wear like, Kalen, now you're 3 years removed from Saban. I would argue like this year was a success for them, getting to the SEC championship game, getting to the Rose Bowl, playing better on the road, sort of, the Florida State game notwithstanding. But that last month was brutal. Their middle of the season was great. Their last month of the season was brutal.
They won at Georgia, which is something they could point to. Pretty much got them in the playoff.
Yeah, we'd have to. Father Penny's asking about the Washington teams didn't run the football well. I mean, I still feel like they did okay there, right? Like they had running backs. They got to the national championship game with that running game and the receivers. So maybe, but that there is something to that. Like getting back to the Nick Saban, big offensive line and power running the football. And that's something that Alabama fans love. And, so the pressure will be on them pretty good next year. Now, again, you look at their schedule and it's probably not going to be real easy. Obviously they play Florida State again. That'll be a thing. I'm pulling up their schedule right now. Play Georgia, at Tennessee, the usuals, at LSU, Auburn, at Vandy. Can't lose to Vandy. Can't lose 2 road games to Vandy in 3 years, certainly. Chattanooga, of course, they can't pull them off the schedule. East Carolina. So, I mean, the schedule isn't too bad in terms of them getting back into the playoff, but Alabama isn't get into the playoff program. It's let's win national titles, and I think they have slipped a little bit as a program.
It's going to be a difficult offseason probably for DeBoer down there and dealing with the Rose Bowl. And, it's kind of justified. I mean, like I said, I think first time since Mike Shula, they lost 3 games by 2 touchdowns or more in one season. And that's, you don't have to be Nick Saban, but you can't be Mike Shula, right?
Right.
So, all right, let's talk Ohio State, your backyard, Columbus, Ohio. Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith, of course, they're back on offense. Defense going to lose a whole bunch of people to the NFL. What are people saying in Columbus? Are they okay with the Buckeyes season this year? Big Ten championship, number 2, entering the playoffs. Just didn't have enough on that Wednesday night against Miami.
As a program, there shouldn't be too much concern. They're still going to be very good next year. They're 26-4 the last 2 years. The only 2 schools with a better record than it's the same as Notre Dame, by the way, or a half game better than Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 24-4. The only 2 schools that have a better record than Ohio State the last 2 seasons, which is an interesting dynamic, are Indiana and Oregon. So, and Ohio State has a national championship. So I don't think there's any like program-wide concerns. The offensive coordinator position will be interesting to see how they fill that. You still have Jeremiah Smith for another year. You're getting Chris Henry behind him. So that receiver pipeline to the NFL is fine. Offensive line probably is something they're going to need to address. They've had a couple guys go in the portal. And but now if we're talking about a short term, what I'm hearing is, look at Ohio State's schedule next year. Finally, they're at Texas, they're at Indiana, they're at Iowa, they get Michigan at home, Oregon at home, and they're at USC. That is probably the toughest schedule they've had. That is a brutal schedule since the Big Ten went to this 18th. They've got everybody on it next year, and Ohio State could still probably go 10-2 against that and be fine. But Indiana's not slowing down. We've talked about that. Oregon's not slowing down. Oregon's one of those programs that's not afraid of Ohio State. And I'm not saying that I'm not trying to start an argument. I'm just saying they play Ohio State with confidence. They've won 2 of the last 3 meetings against the Buckeyes. Not too many programs can say that. So,
you think Arch Manning wants a little revenge against the Buckeyes too?
Texas will be good. So, that's a brutal schedule for Ryan Day. But if you look at, I got to pull this stat up because I know I've used it before. Ohio State, this could be your Troche trivia. When is the last time Ohio State lost 3 games in a season, including the postseason?
That's got to be that 6-7 team with
it
Fickle.
Is. And then before that, it's only happened like one time in the last 20 years. They went 10-3 under Tressel in like 2008. So they don't lose more than 2 games often.
No.
So that's what I'm saying. If they get to a next year Murphy's Law season, they end up like 9-4, then you might hear some things. But I mean, I'm looking at that schedule and I'm like, if they went 10-2 against that, that's fine. As long as one of the two isn't Michigan.
You think Day's going to let his new offensive coordinator call the plays?
I would.
Okay.
I would. And I think they should. And, obviously, I don't know who that offensive coordinator is going to be. If you retain Matt Patricia, obviously, he might be – there's 6 NFL openings right now. I mean, if you're an NFL team, you might be calling Matt Patricia. His stock's up a little bit.
Yeah.
Or he stays. So, I mean, we've got to watch the NFL. You always have to watch the NFL with Ohio State.
Yeah.
Some of those guys, and I know that's a segue into what we're going to talk about next. But, I mean, obviously, you've got to look into that.
Yeah. So, all right. I want to talk about a little Lane Kiffin. Does he regret going to LSU? So, sort of an embarrassing situation for him with Ole Miss winning. I don't think he planned on not having his assistants when the transfer portal was open. It's been back and forth. It's been confusing to everybody. Pete Golding is talking to the media. He's telling his assistants, Lane's your boss. I can't tell you if you're going to be here or not. We have enough people in the building to get through this. Prep for Miami. Report this morning coming out of Mississippi was Lane sent one of his assistants back to Oxford, not necessarily to help them prepare for Miami, but to make sure Kewan Lacey stayed firm in his silent commitment to LSU, which is now in question because I think after the win over Georgia, the Ole Miss boosters have boosted their financial offer to Lacey, so he might be staying. So he's dealing with that as he's trying to get ready to play for Miami against Miami. So the whole thing is a mess, but just, I don't know. Real quick, just according to NOLA.com, 29 players for LSU are in the portal. LSU has gotten 4 commitments so far, all on the offensive side of the ball. They got 2 wide receivers from Old Dominion and Stanford, a Utah running back, and a tight end from Georgia named Malachi Thomas. So I guess my question is that they need to get the quarterback straightened out, but I don't know. You think Lane has any second thoughts? Because if he had Ole Miss in the Final Four and he had turned down LSU, he would be on top of the college football world right now.
He would be more popular than Kurt Cignetti right now. And that's saying something because Kurt's all over my timeline. Lane, like you said, I don't think he's going to go to the game and create that kind of distraction. The mechanics between these two coaching staffs, I mean, this is why we have to fix the calendar so they don't have to be put in this unenviable position because, of course, that guy's talking to him about LSU. Of course, they're trying to get him to LSU. And we live in this world where you can do that now. Commend Pete Golding for keeping this thing together. Been on a couple shows this week where there's this sentiment that at a certain point the bubble burst. But I think when you're out on the football field, that none of that stuff matters. I think it's right now is when it matters, when during the preparation phases and the meetings and the logistics of preparing for a game of this magnitude and going up against that Miami defense. But remember when Lane left, I was on that, Mike DeCourcy, our college writer, wrote the column that kind of skewered Lane a little bit. And I was the guy that was kind of like, he's making his living and, whatever. And I was probably light touch, but I'm annoyed by the entire storyline now. Like, you're at LSU, be at LSU. Let your coaches coach at Ole Miss till it's over and then go from there. But I'm thinking from LSU's vantage point, they don't want Ole Miss to win a national title, which is ironic because the SEC is always about, it just means more all together, greatest conference ever. And now they're probably actively kind of trying to undermine one, whether we see it that way or not.
Yeah, and it hadn't really occurred to me. Think about if he had stayed, right? He would be so popular right now. He would be like the king of the college football and whatever. And now he's he had the villain tag already, but now it's getting even worse, and it's even more like we don't even need you to win these college football playoff games. We don't need your magical play calling. We don't need you on the sideline. We're doing all of this without you. It's pretty amazing to think about. So,
Yeah,
all right, one last. Go ahead.
Good. No, I was just going to say, and that's really it. I mean, this entire if Ole Miss wins one more, yeah, I mean that's it right there. Like you're going to be talking about Lane Kiffin will always be connected to this because now the standard is he has to get LSU to a semifinal now, or it's a failure. He has to get LSU to a national championship game now, and it's a failure. I can't imagine if Ole Miss wins it, which is entirely possible, by the way, that Ole Miss could win this thing. And I haven't. We talk about this all the time, Bill. When we get to the semifinal round, very rarely do I feel like any one of the four can win it. Like you go back to last year. Who was it last year? Notre Dame. I didn't think Penn State could win it. I didn't think they could beat Ohio State. And I didn't think who did Ohio State. No, I thought they could. And I thought but I'm not all four. This year, I actually feel like all four. I'm like, yeah, I could see them holding up the trophy.
I know. It's going to be fun. So speaking of one of those four, before we get back to the Troche trivia question, I saw this on my timeline. Rich Eisen, the Rich Eisen Show, discussed whether Kirk Cignetti's act, so to speak, would work in the NFL. And I did not click on this segment, so I don't know what they had to say about it, but I wanted to ask you what you had to say about it. You've obviously been, we've all been following Indiana's rise. What do you think? How would Cignetti's sort of demeanor, style work in the NFL?
I think so. I mean, does he have a ton of NFL experience? No, but I mean, his shtick and demeanor and all that stuff, it reminds me of Mike Ditka a little bit. I mean, that's what I would say. Like Ditka was a no nonsense, obviously revered in Chicago coach, and his way
he's got the I'm the smartest guy in the room vibe, but it works for him.
Yeah, Ditka was sense. Yeah, and he even got the same haircut as Ditka, kind of. So I think just the way that he a lot of Cignetti's on the timeline, like I said earlier, but some of it is, you're seeing how he works the portal, how he prepares for games. They were just totally outclassed Alabama. Like it's gone from we're not sure they can compete with Notre Dame or Ohio State to they're dominating programs like Alabama. Like,
and they weren't swept up in it. They weren't caught. They weren't awed by themselves. They were just like, yeah, this is business. This is what we do.
So to answer your question, would it work in the NFL? I don't know. I just think the approach is similar. Like their entire program's embodied by him. The NFL is guys like, as much as I hate the Bears, and I can say that, Father Penny, I hate the Bears, and I'm going to hate them all week. Ben Johnson's done a fantastic job with them, though. So see how I circle that back and say something nice about him, because it's play calling, it's logistics, it's game preparation, the way that the Bears have feasted off turnovers. I mean, that kind of thing. They're a good football team. I don't know. I just know that what he's doing right now in this era by working the portal, getting veteran players, having Fernando kind of be the face of that, and then just feeding into I actually don't think he makes it about him. Yes, he's confident and borderline arrogant and all those things, but you can even see in the press conferences, it's not about him. It's about the team. And man, they've bought into it full go there at Indiana. So they are by far, even though I think all four of them can win it, Bill, they're by far the favorite right now.
They are the favorite. And we were talking about it. I don't think you were in this conversation in the office that we were having it. Greatest turnaround in North American sports history.
I mean,
and there's nothing a close second. There's no close second.
I mean, it's the worst program in college football history, being a national championship contender in 2 years. So yeah, I mean,
number one, going to the Rose Bowl, beating Alabama, beating Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. There's nothing close. We couldn't think of anything that's even close.
Now, how they've done it, and I'm not. You're correct. Now, how they've done it, one of the things that needs examined is look at the age of the players on their roster. They are old. And they are very experienced. That's within the rules. But the average starter on their roster is going to be 3, 4, or 5 year guys. And that's how you're supposed to build a program, but it's the way you can build it now. And the most amazing part is I bet if you looked at I don't want to speculate here, but if you looked at all of the JMU guys, how many of those JMU guys hit and became like not just like special teams guys, like contributors, really good players, and they're hitting at the quarterback position. So it really is. I can't think of one. I can be a contrarian and try to think of one. You just can't. Like there's nothing like it.
Not this quickly. I mean, DeCourcy was bringing up John Calipari at UMass. UMass was in the wilderness completely, but it took them 4 years before they made the NCAA tournament.
Because is there an NFL team that went? It'd be like the next coach of the Browns taking them to the Super Bowl next year. And
right.
Like, because they just fired Stefanski, and if the Browns went to the Super Bowl next year, we could have that conversation.
But even still, it's like, I agree because they've never been and everything, they've got a lot of history, but like the NFL is designed for the worst team to get the number 1 pick.
True.
And the easiest schedule and, things like that to help them. College, there's no help. The best players go to the best teams and the worst players go to the worst teams. And it's a cycle that's so difficult to break. And he broke it big time. So,
yeah. And if they win it, that would be the story. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get back to our Troche trivia question. Then we'll get out of here. On Thursday, I will be joining you from downtown Atlanta, and we're going to move the pod to 1 o'clock, I think 1, on Thursday. We'll preview the semifinals, the coaches' press conferences for the Peach Bowl or Thursday morning at 9:30, so we can't do the show then. I will be at those. We'll do it in the afternoon once I get my room and whatever. So we will see everybody Thursday at 1 o'clock. Let's just set it at 1 for now. But the Troche trivia question, give me the 4 CFP semifinal quarterbacks in order of passing yards per game.
So 4 is Beck. Is that correct?
Why don't you just give me your 4?
No, I'm doing it in reverse order. So, like,
okay, no, 4 is not Beck. Beck is not last.
Who's last? Chambliss.
This is hard.
So
Mendoza is last in passing yards per game. He is first in passer rating.
Right, but because they run the ball. So
passer yards per game. Who's third?
Beck.
Incorrect.
Oh my gosh. Moore?
Dante Moore.
Moore's third.
That
means
so
Beck is second.
They're all, to be fair.
Is it close? Beck's second.
Beck is second.
And then Chambliss is 1. Chambliss was going to be my one guess the whole time, but I was trying to work my way up.
Yeah.
Mendoza makes sense where he's at.
So, I mean, here are the numbers. Mendoza's 226.
Mm-hmm.
Moore 234. Beck 236. Chambliss 261. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, come on, Bill. That's not an easy. They're separated by like 2 yards. So, come on, man. Like that's a tough question.
I know. I didn't want to go passer rating though because I knew
passer rating who would be
Mendoza was an easy one there and stuff like that. So anyway, all right. Well, that was fun. And like I said, we will be back on Thursday. So thanks to everyone for coming into the room this morning. Thank you to everyone for listening to the CFB Nation All-America podcast, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Thank you to Irish Breakdown, your source for Notre Dame football information. Enjoy the rest of the day, and we will see you Thursday afternoon.